So in this video, I'm going to be trying to make Ferrofluid out of this magnetic powder that we made in the last video. I have tried to make it a few times with this, that's why there's less, but it's not working. So I think it's because the iron fillings are too big. So I'm going to be using this tiny blender to make them even smaller. I don't think this would be enough, so I'm going to also be using the blender to blend up all of this. And I'll be taking the magnetic fillings out of that. And let's get started. So first I just have this tiny blender. Last video I did use a sift, but I forgot to say that. So I'm just going to pour the magnetic filings into here. And then I'm just gonna blend it. Yeah, I know that sounds weird. So I'm just gonna let it settle down for a second before I open it. Well, you can see there's like stuff like built up on here. So I really don't want a magnet near this. So I just cut up a card to like push this in. Hopefully I don't get any outside. Alright, so the powder is finer, and a lot of it is still in the cap. Alright, so I got most of the stuff out of the cap, and I just have this powder in here now. So I'm just gonna take one of these and put it in here, and then just keep blending and more fill out. Alright, I guess this doesn't like to be blended. Yeah, this really does not like to be blended. Alright, so I forgot to turn the camera on, but I got the cap off of this, and then I just poured it out into this bowl. And then right now what I'm doing is just doing this, kind of, and you can see the powder is just forming on the sides. And then I'm just going to pour that in. And then I'm just going to keep doing that. I'm actually getting a lot more powder than I thought. I don't think I'm going to have to blend it again. I'll see if I have to. that's it for this one. So let's see, I got a pretty good thing. So now I'm just gonna sift it out using this. I'm just trying to get all the powder out. There's still a lot of powder in this, like, this stuff. If you're gonna use your hands, you really want to wash your hands pretty well. Alright, so now you can see that I have this powder. And I'm just going to do that again for all of that. I'm going to use this bowl instead of that one because there's powder in there. And we'll see. So I just cleaned up the area with a magnet. And you can see I got all this stuff. You can probably sift this out too once you get enough, so just saying. Alright, so I decided to switch back to the blender instead of just taking the steel wool and then just mixing it around, because the blender way was getting me more iron filings. So I'm using that now, and I've got about that much, so I'm just gonna sift it out. I'm just gonna go in with my hands again. Alright, so we have about that much, and I think that's a good amount to start with. I'm gonna start experimenting with this and see what we'll get. Alright, so to start experimenting, I'm just going to use this top of a tennis can, and I'm just going to take my cut up credit card and scoop some magnetic powder into there. Ferrofluid needs three main components. That is the magnetic powder, a liquid, and a surfactant. You probably know what a liquid is and the magnetic powder, but a surfactant is a liquid that keeps the magnetic particles suspended in the liquid. So basically what that means is if we just put some water in here and then put a magnet near it, all the powder is just gonna come into one spot and it's gonna take all the liquid out of it. We don't want that for a ferrofluid though. We want the actual liquid to work in unison with the magnetic powder to make like cool spikes. So what we need, you probably all have this at home, which is just some hand soap and some oil. So I'm just gonna go get that. Alright, so now I've got my hand soap and my oil in this little cup. So you need a lot more of the oil than the actual surfactant. I'm just gonna go ahead and add some more powder here. Alright, now I'm just gonna add some of the hand soap. You need very little. And you can see how much I put right there. And I'm just gonna mix that up and let that soak for a second. Alright, all the soap's kind of just sticking to the mixing thing. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more soap. Not a lot though. It's just like a drop. So I'm just gonna try to mix that in now. And a lot of like the things I saw online, they just put the magnetic powder in water and then they called it ferrofluid. That's not ferrofluid. Ferrofluid is a magnetic liquid. It's not just something inside a liquid. Alright, so the soap's kind of mixed in. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of my oil. And I'm just gonna try to mix that in too. Oops. So I'm just trying to mix it right now. And it's kind of thick, so I'm going to add a little bit more oil. This is just like regular cooking oil, by the way. Alright, that looks pretty well mixed in. I'm just going to try to smush a few chunks up. Alright, now I'm going to take my magnet and see how well this works. You can see like the magnetic powder is spitting out the oil on the sides, so you don't want that, and that's exactly what's happening. So this attempt is a fail, although I'm going to try to add some more soap in here. I just added some more soap right there. I forgot to mix it. I'm just going to mix it up. I actually think it's still too thick. And what makes Ferrofluid so special is that it will stay liquid, not solidify when a magnetic field is introduced. One website that I looked up, it said exactly the opposite of that. It said the special thing about Ferrofluid is that it will become solid when introduced to a magnetic field. That's the exact opposite of a ferrofluid. And once you get this stuff wet, it's really hard to get it dry, so if you really don't want to get it wet, then I wouldn't recommend doing this. Right now, let's see. Now it's just powder in the middle of a puddle of in the middle of a puddle of oil. So that also didn't work. So I guess this is a fail. I have another idea, so watch the part 2 of this series where I'm going to try to make ferrofluid out of something else, and we'll see if that works. See you.